I think it's time to jump into the infinity pool of this craziness of a film. Let's talk about that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's spoiler-filled discussion of the new Brandon Cronenberg film, Infinity Pool. Okay, so this will be a spoiler discussion. I'll give you my non-spoiler thoughts first, and then we'll get into the spoiler details. This is a Brandon Cronenberg film, so it won't be for everyone, but just know going in that I will talk about spoilers and what I thought about what Brandon Cronenberg is going with this film, like he did with Possessor. So this film, Infinity Pool, is Brandon Cronenberg's newest film. It's a film that stars Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth and Cleopatra Coleman and Thomas Ketchum. It's a film that is in essence about a couple who go to this really rich kind of island and resort. They come across these two individuals that are, one character is played by Mia Goth. They kind of, become friends with them, and they go out on an excursion one night, borrowing a car. And then, of course, as you see from the trailer, the character that is played by Alexander Skarsgård ends up hitting someone. And without spoiling anything, from that moment on, when he hits the person, this world that is Infinity Pool starts to kind of spiral out of control, as you see from the trailer. When the camera spins, it makes you kind of question the realities that you're watching, question the ideas that you're watching. And it's definitely a film that is from a Cronenberg individual. So with that said, this movie premiered at Sundance Film Festival. A week later, it premiered in theaters. And Brandon Cronenberg, like his father, we'll just say it, like his father, is a very interesting director. He really is. He's a director that very much likes to use visceral experiences, mood, tension, style, and kind of making you uneasy while making you kind of, confused, out of sorts and stuff like that. So going into a movie like this, it was pretty full. The theater was full, which was really surprising because I didn't realize that a lot of people wanted to see a movie by the director of Possessor. That movie is insane and crazy and full of really kind of interesting ideas. And so, walking into a movie like this, I was expecting just a very strange, kind of weird odyssey of a movie. And, that's kind of where I lie. That's my, non-spoiler for, kind of, thinking. But as, what I expected, that's exactly what I got. And so for my review, I really enjoyed this movie. Is it as good as Possessor? Not really, because I think the concepts and ideas a little wonky for even Brandon Cronenberg's taste, but it's a movie with very interesting ideas. It's a movie with very interesting concepts. I think this is one of the best things Mia Goth has done since Pearl, which is not that long ago. I think Mia Goth is a very underrated actress who does some really interesting stuff. And she's so good in this movie. She kind of outpaces everyone else in this movie. And it really shows. It really shows just how talented of an actress is and how willing she is to just go to levels of darkness and deepness and strangeness, and just how she is willing to kind of take on parts that are not easy, and she does it with such aplomb. She does it with such style and panache. It's a wonderful thing to see from an actress who, once again, is just kind of come out of the indie scene, come out of this weird sensibility of an actress. And then you have Alexander Skarsgård, who comes in, is part of a pretty famous family now, and he is a guy who commands presence. Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård are very beautiful looking people, but they have talent behind that beauty. They have talent behind that charisma. And it's a wonderful thing to see. And I really love that style and substance that comes from these two individuals, because they need to carry a script that can be very obtuse and very domineering. It can also be very kind of out there and very in the spectrum of like a Mandy or, something that his father, David Cronenberg does. It's a very interesting style to see two actors that just kind of go with it. You can see it in the press release. You can see it in the press tour. They're two individuals that are willing to take chances, and it shows and it pays off. And it makes these two actors and actresses really, really competent in what they do. And on top of that, this movie is beautiful, but it's also using like a wider lens. So like everything feels like really blown out and really kind of, you almost feel small. And then like Brandon Cronenberg likes to do things where he'll put like the actors like in the corner of the screen, so it makes you kind of feel off center. This movie, from the minute the credits roll, there is never a point where you just never feel like you're in comfortability zone. You're constantly kind of being shifted in one direction, being shifted in another. You can never stay steady. It's a really interesting idea and concept that I really liked. And on top of that, the music's very aggressive. It's very in your face. And this whole movie just kind of does that in a nutshell. And it leads to what I think is going on in the movie, which is there's a lot of kind of themes that Brandon Cronenberg did with this film that he also did with Possessor and his other film Antiviral that he came out a few years ago. And I gotta admit, is it gonna be my top 10 of the year? Probably not, because I think it's a little lesser than Possessor. I think Possessor was a much more interesting experience. But I give it to what Brandon Cronenberg is able to do. He is able to make films that are very unique and very interesting and just kind of in a cool sphere that not a lot of directors do. There's not a lot of directors that are working like what Brandon Cronenberg is doing. And this movie is very violent. It's very sexual. It's very, uncomfortable at times, but it is never what you would call insulting to your intelligence. It is what it is. It does what it does, and it lasts for 2 hours, and it lets you loose at the end, and just kind of makes you ponder what exactly did I watch. And that always makes, for a good movie, if you can kind of handle it, because this is not going to be a film for everyone. Like Possessor, this is a movie that's going to make people uncomfortable. They're going to laugh in certain places like they did at the screening I went to, and you just kind of have to understand that it's just not that type of movie for a lot of people. And like I said, once again, I was surprised when I saw so many people in the theater, because it's not a movie I would expect people to want to see. But it could also be that some of the theaters in my area just weren't showing the film, so that could be another reason too. So in the end, for my non-spoiler review, I think this movie's interesting. I think it's very much a Brandon Cronenberg film. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It did make me uncomfortable, but that's what the setting and the appeal. Great acting, great set pieces, and just overall an interesting feel to a movie. So with that said, that is my non-spoiler review of this film, and we'll talk about spoiler discussion here in just a second. But if you want to end now and want to see the film, definitely check it out. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and let's head into spoiler discussion. Okay, so the spoiler portion of this review is just kind of what I think what this movie is trying to do. This movie is about an individual that has one book. He's written one book his entire life. He's married to a very rich person who is the daughter of the person who published his book. His book got terrible reviews. Mia Goth's character with her husband or boyfriend or whatever come into the mix. She claims that she likes his book. And it becomes a story, to me personally, what I feel about not only what it's like for the super rich, the individuals who feel like they have nothing to lose, to balance themselves into this world and are able to get out of it with just spending money. That's all they need to do is spend money, and they can go and kill someone. And how, this movie is about body doubles and cloning and the ability for this country to make money off the rich. And it exposes the rich for what they are, which is a very, disturbed society which holds very dark secrets. And that's what is happening here. It's about the very dark secrets of what is capable of the human person, the human society. And you see it with this every kind of movement that plays out to this movie. Just the idea of the world that Alexander Skarsgård gets put into, and he hits the person, and then he is able to pay money to make a body double. But that you start questioning the ideas: did the body double survive? And then, of course, one of the people has to be killed, like the body double or the original. But you're never entirely sure which one's the body double and which one's the original, because there's like a lot of weird dream-like imagery and stuff like that. You just kind of watch it. There's scenes in the very beginning which just kind of show that nature of like these two individuals, the Mia Goth and her boyfriend, are like, oh, we'll take care of it once they kill the individual and stuff like that. And they find out they're just paying money to have another body double so it can be killed, so they can live their life. But you don't know who. Like, there's this thing that's been said in the story with another character where it's like, I don't know if I'm the body double or not. I don't know. And that's what is really interesting, because it's like leaning into the rich being the rich. They're able to do whatever they want. And they talk about how, the people of this island are very violent, and they're, very disturbed individuals. And what you find out is it's not the people on the island, because those people are in encampments. They are, there's a scene where Alexander Skarsgård tries to escape the kind of craziness of the situation. He ends up in this kind of house with these two people. They seem normal. And it really is, in essence, the violent people are the people being, held into the resort. They're the ones that are the most dangerous, because once they are released, they go out and kill somebody. And so the rich people killed someone, and they're able to escape from it, and they're able to pay for the death. And it's just, when you watch the scenes play out where the body doubles or the originals or whatever are violently killed, and then you see like people up in the stands, the whatever, the double or the originals in the stands clapping, that there is a very much a darkness secret to the human psychology and human brain, stuff like that. And on top of that, rich people watching just very disturbed stuff and very dark stuff. The dark nature of like, once you have money, it's like if you think of like Hostel or that movie The Hunt or something like that. It's just, that's what I think is going on in this movie, just in this like small nutshell. Once Alexander Skarsgård's character, Jeff or whatever his name is, gets into the mix, he starts to see how brutally disturbed the whole situation is. But on top of everything, this movie is also about an individual who is scared to be human. He's scared to be somebody that is not willing to stand up for himself, because he is very timid. He's always kind of under the belt of this woman played by Cleopatra Coleman. And he's never willing to stand up for himself. And I think that's why his character gets thrown into the mix of this thing, because once he kills someone, he's so afraid of kind of taking the reins and being the one responsible for it, that he's just willing to pay the money and get the double so he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And you see that as the movie moves along, that Mia Goth's character, I think, is trying to get him to unleash who he is, which would help him because his book was so successful. She didn't read the book, but she's pushing him into this world to help him and to teach him to be a much more stern person. Because as the movie goes along, he hides his passport. He wants to stay on this island to be with this woman played by Mia Goth, and he doesn't have any balls. And there's talk about that situation where he has no balls. He's not willing to stand up for himself when there's a whole scene where he gets violated by the Mia Goth character, and it's all that kind of stuff. And you see it as it plays along, that in order for him to finally, get the balls to do something, he has to murder the weak part of himself, and that's what he does at the very end of this movie. But you see it play out through the entire movie, him constantly trying to escape, trying to not be personal, not be the one responsible for the whole situation. But it leads to the very end of this movie where he and everybody has gone back to their normal self. He has killed his double. He goes back home to M, which is Cleopatra Coleman's character. But as it's been talked about, this resort has to close down 6 months out of the year because of storms and flooding. And then we see him on the beach. We see the Jeff character, but we're not entirely sure if this is the Jeff that is the original, is the one that got on the bus to go to M. Is that the body double? It's not really explained, but I have a feeling that the one that's going back to his wife is the one that feels more confident because of how he acts, and then the one that stays behind is the one that's always going to be scared and just kind of doesn't want to deal with anything. And then you see, on top of that, you see the individuals that play out through the movie, the ones that kind of push Alexander Skarsgård's character into the mix to push him forward. They act like normal individuals, which could lead into many kind of observations about what exactly is his character, or these characters' involvement. Are they, like I said, with the whole rich thing, they just kind of hide their secret on the island and go back to normal life, and the island keeps their secret and all that good stuff. So it could be like, going back to whatever it was. But it's a really fascinating kind of look into not only rich culture, but also the idea of like what it is to be human and how we kind of let ourselves go in the scenario. All the kind of ideas of just like not standing up for ourselves, and the ideas of like, everything involved. And on top of that, there's a lot of weird imagery in this movie, a lot of weird sexual imagery, a lot of weird violent imagery. The fact that, like Possessor, Brandon Cronenberg doesn't rely on like constantly on the same, shot over and over and over. He just kind of like, fast paced, fast editing, kind of, a lot of like flashing colors and stuff like that. And that's kind of what Brandon Cronenberg's style is. And then, like I said, when you get to the end, it's left kind of open-ended to what exactly is the overarching idea, but you kind of get the gist that there might be something there with Alexander Skarsgård, the doubles and stuff like that. The doubles are just more of like, you see him like pack up the urns and stuff like that he gets throughout the movie, almost like a reminder to make sure, because he got like shed himself like skin wise, to kind of shed himself into being a, I don't know, much more stern person. And on top of that, there's the mask situation where they all wear these like weird creepy masks, and the idea of like what's underneath or what's above the surface, what's underneath because above the surface is very dark and disturbing. And the idea that these people hide a very dark secret underneath them that kind of comes out with these masks and stuff like that. The idea of when they go rob the guy and they're just kind of really up for killing the individuals in this house and stealing a medal and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff is just kind of what it's like for really disturbed individuals and really dark rich people, what they're willing to do and what they hide in their dark secrets. And that's what is also the same thing with Alexander Skarsgård. When he puts on the mask, it's very sad, it's very depressed. It's his underlying feeling of a human being, and it finally comes out to the mix and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting idea and concept. Like I said, there's probably more that I've missed that I'll have to watch it a second time to get more ideas on, but that's kind of where I feel what the movie is trying to do. The infinity pool almost feels like when you jump in, it feels like like Mia Goth's character says, there's no underneath. They can see you from underneath, so therefore they can see your inner self and stuff like that, and see kind of the raw nature of who you are. That's kind of where I feel like it feels like an awakening for Alexander Skarsgård on top of the rich society that just has a very strange kind of pedigree to him. So, but with that said, I'm going to kind of leave it there with my spoiler discussion. I hope that alleviates some idea or concept or mystery of what you think about is going on in this movie. I know it's not 100% correct, but that's just kind of how I feel. As I always say in the comments below, understand that's what I think. What you think, it could be entirely different. So definitely let me know your thoughts and theories about what's going on in this movie. If you have anything more to add, tell me. Let me know. Like I said, I'm more than interested to read. Overall, just let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for watching my spoiler discussion for Infinity Pool, new Brandon Cronenberg movie. But anyways, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell. Top to Fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.